buddy. Hi. Alright, this is my massive screen of shit. We're gonna go down, okay, the list, quote unquote. I go from left to right, so this is where we're gonna be starting here. I'm sure that y'all have always heard, when it comes to like hard surfaces and stuff, being able to rotate a cube in your mind is probably the first thing. The first level, like we're talking level 0 shit, you know what I mean? When I was learning how to draw and self-teaching, I would literally just doodle cubes in different angles for fun. But if you're just starting out, this is really just like a case of like, if you haven't warmed up yet and you just want to like get in the sort of brain space for drawing mecha or robots, this is a great way to start. I tried drawing a long time ago, but I'm a bit too much of a perfectionist and not patient enough for that kind of stuff, but I love learning stuff, even if it's not particularly useful for me. Totally fair. It depends on whatever medium that you work with and what is like the most accessible to you brain-wise. For me, it's drawing. It's a lot easier for me to draw something than just to model something. or make something, you know, craftsies. But I've dabbled in the crafts. It is good to branch out whenever you're comfortable. But yes, the cube. The cube is very, very important because a lot of selling three-dimensional mecha is sort of the depth, right? Of like the angles and stuff that you find in mecha and in robots and stuff. The construction, I found a few like construction level drawings of like some, you know, mecha type things, and these are incredible. This is a great visual for like building up from just a cube to something like to the left here, because you know you can even match these angles. This 3/4 view right here, you just need to find a 3/4 view of this cube. It's pretty much 1-to-1, and it's very easy after a while once you study enough of these to sort of like shorthand what angle a machine is in. This one's a little more on the advanced edge, but like if you take a look at the head, for example, that is just straight up a cube. It is straight up a cube, and that is enough visual information to add everything on it. If you're comfortable or familiar with 3D modeling, it's the same deal. Like you start from Blender basic ass cube, and you build yourself up. You build yourself up to either like something bipedal, or we're gonna discuss later, like different types of robot design. Fun. Hey, and feel free to draw along. I will also, I mean, I have my tablet ready. I will also be doodling along. I don't know, I understand how to wrap my head around the intermediate steps between stick figure pose and a complete image. A lot of it is just kind of going for it and seeing what sticks, right? The intermediary like process in between a cube to like this is going to take time. I have no shortcut for that. But I will show you my process. I'll show you what it looks like. What does help me though, when I was learning and starting out, was just looking at a lot of examples of either simple versus complex robots. And I have Optimus Prime here. There's a reason why Optimus Prime was my notification on Twitter.com, because Optimus Prime is an incredible example of like simple to complex. Starscream is down there, but that's for a different reason. You see Starscream and Goonified Starscream. We'll talk about it later. Optimus, if y'all are familiar with Transformers, Optimus had the most basic bitch design in G1, but it's so strong because the color scheme on top makes up for the blockiness. But at the same time, if you think about the limitations of like early cartoons back then, everything was hand drawn. And cubes are probably the easiest thing to rotate in 3D frame by frame. So a lot of the characters look really blocky. But I like to think of it as like, you know, the progression of like technology and computers from like the 80s to now. Like you had to start really simple. Optimus, strong design. We move on to like the later designs of Optimus that are in this 2D / like simplified realm. I have TFA and Earthspark as an example. It's very close to the G1 design, but it has its own sort of thing going on. Where we get into sort of like scary, complex robot territory is probably the movie designs. I have original Optimus Prime, 2007, versus his sort of like, I think this was his Last Night design. You can tell they streamlined him quite a bit. And he's actually a little closer to like TFA or Transformers Prime than he is to his original design. Because holy shit, there's so much going on. The movie designs are unnecessarily complicated. And it's because they want to make them look alien. It's like, oh, it's the real world. Fucking whatever. So busy. If it wasn't for the bright ass red and blue, you couldn't tell this was Optimus Prime. I can at least believe with the mess of metal that the movie Transformers could turn into a motor vehicle. Absolutely. I think that's where we'll start when we start talking about complexity and like adding detail. Transformers, to anybody wanting to learn how to draw robots, is a very, very great place to start because the kibble is built into the design. It is supposed to look mechanical. It's supposed to look like it turns into a vehicle. So it's like a crash course on like where and when to place kibble, where and when to place certain visual elements of a car or a truck or a plane, yada, yada, yada. I think out of all these Optimus Primes though, Prime Optimus has to be my top favorite, like bar none, because its design was directly influenced by all the other designs before it. Okay, movie Optimus walked, so Transformers Prime Optimus could run, okay? Like, this design is sleeked up and looks like a truck in all the right places. Also, he has the birth-giving hips. You know, Transformers in general, as a series and as a continuity and multiple continuities, yada yada, it is what you make it. You gotta pick and choose what you like and hold on to dear life for the aspects that you do like and sort of like discard what doesn't fit your range of tastes. But that, I mean, Transformers Prime, I watched Transformers Prime when it came out. That shit stuck in my brain. I like robots with complex designs, however, the simpler design, the easier it is to draw the character each time. Agreed. This is where Transformers Animated was a completely 2D animated show. So the late character artist designed these characters with that in mind. These have to be storyboarded. We have to do tie downs for this, etc., etc. So I think TFA, it's like a toss up between TFA and Transformers Prime Animated, and then like Earthspark is like a nice in between these two for me personally. Like he's very G1 in all the right places. It's because he literally landed in the 80s. Like they do a G1 retelling, but yeah, I feel like Optimus and like just studying designs that have like this level of continuity and like differences despite being the same character is a great way to study where, in terms of robots, like where your personal tastes lie. Do you like them complicated? Do you like them a little more simplified? Do you like a combination of the two? For me, I like a combination of the two. No, I lean on the more simpler side. I will now go to the shape language portion. I will be doodling at some point, but I'm just gonna run through everything, go from there, maybe, because I want to be able to show all these examples. Like, a lot of my studying of art is literally just staring at art for hours and hours and hours and figuring out why it works. This stream is here for me to essentially show you my findings. I'm here to share my findings. Going on top of the whole simple versus complex is shape language. Shape language is huge with mecha and, like, robot design, because if you ain't fucking with that kibble, you could just shear it all off. You could do something like Mitchell's and the Machines, right? And just do geometrical shapes. And honestly, it sells because, one, geometric harsh edges are very inorganic. The less curves you have in the design, the less, you know, organically inclined the design will be. And, you know, just generally the more, you know, technological, I would say.
It's also important to note that if it's contrasting with very rounded characters that are more organic, then that helps accentuate that point more with the robots. Yeah,
absolutely. And actually, I'm very glad that you bring this up, because there are other machines in this movie that are sort of like an earlier gen, I think, of these machines, made by the same silly little phone AI, but like the PAL robots have more curves in their design because they're actually designed to be used in the home. I'll go into form and function probably after this section, but with that knowledge in mind, I would say you put the PAL robot next to the fucking murder robot and it's night and day. The contrast is so apparent. And it also in the color scheme as well. That's another thing I'll bring up too. It's just like when you're learning mecha, or with anything in life, truly, pick your battles, right? What do you want to learn most first? And then focus on that one thing until you're really, really good at it. And then over time, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to tack this on. I want to take that on next, right? Because when you, like, break it up into chunks that are palatable to you, and you're willing to be like, fuck it, it's going to be a struggle, but it's going to be worth it, then it makes the learning process a lot easier. You know, like, taking on too much at the same time, trust me, I'm very guilty of this. I will just be like, I want to do this entire concept anime bullshit, and I'm just like, man, I really gotta choose one thing, or I gotta choose one character and just fixate on that and use that as like my proof of concept.
I mean, another thing you could do, like, let's say you're really good at, like, drawing clothes or cloth, right? And you know how to drape it on a form very well. You can use a complex robot design, kind of hide it under that, and then kind of slowly over time learn how you draw more elements of that.
This is that is an incredible example. Yes. That is also another thing, too. You know how, like, it is a case of half the time when I don't want to draw a human, I either am drawing a robot or somebody with a mask over their head, right? And it's just like, okay, I'm certainly, you can imply there's something underneath, but for now, no, I ain't dealing with it. You get like the full ass design, and then like he said, over time, once you feel more confident in your sort of like visual language and in your library of knowledge, then you can be like, fuck it, I'm gonna try them without their clothes on. And that could be a motivation in itself, because you get to see your blorbo naked. But I mean, at the end of the day, this entire art processing thing should be fun. It should be an enjoyable process, even when it's difficult. Because I mean, it's in your nature to sort of strive for things that are kind of difficult, because the challenge is very brain stimulating, you know? And you just gotta find your right level of brain stimulating. You don't want it to be frustrating, you just want it to be stimulating. I have a couple other examples of like shape language in here. This is actually this is a Prime sketch. So the Transformer Prime designs, if you're a fan of the Transformers Prime designs, chat, they were all drawn in 2D first. The reasons why designs are so strong is because a cartoonist / 2D artist is working on it and is like really focusing on those shapes first. There's kibble added and stuff like that. This is actually smokescreen. Like, this is early smokescreen, I think. And of course, this got adjusted over time for 3D and things like that. Just the proportions of the legs and like the way the angles of the wheels and stuff, like that's even going back to the sort of like, you know, your form construction and stuff like that. Like how well can you rotate objects in 3D? Helps a lot with like construction. I have Baymax in here. I have the Ninja fucking Sonic Frontiers robot as also shape language ideas, right? So like when I say, for example, I'm gonna all tie this in sort of towards the middle of the stream when I get through this entire board and be like, okay, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna do it all. The vibe of your character, are they, depending on like their function, are they supposed to be around organics? Are they supposed to not be? Are they supposed to be murdering them? Are they supposed to be nurturing them? It'll show in the shape language. Like Baymax being a health robot, the motherfucker is just a marshmallow. Moving on, let's see here. Genre and theming. Whenever I'm thinking about making a robot, right, I am always also thinking about sort of the pseudo-origin story of this robot. What are they all about? What time period are they in? What's their designation? What made them? Who made them? Yada, yada, yada. It's where sort of like, you know, you could start designing a color palette or like a shape language. Like that kind of ties in with like the shape language thing from before. Talking about a character with another person while you're designing them helps a lot. It helps a lot just to have a dialogue with somebody, be like, okay, you know, like, say, for example, like, oh, I'm making this character right now, and then I'm like, yeah, what are they about? And then you have to, essentially, building a dialogue with another person, it really helps with sort of, like, the planning stage of, like, the robot designing, or any designing, really. A lot of so when I do adopts and stuff, I'm doing that dialogue in my head. What are we doing? Today, I actually am going to start designing a couple of adopts to work on over the weekend. I found a lot of great references. We're gonna do this, essentially. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And that's also where, like, this planning stage is very important, is because, like, you want to design a character at the end of the day that is, like, very indulgent and very fun. You have to kind of do a little soul searching when you start up a robot design, because it's like, okay, think about robots in media. What is your flavor of robot? Is it Optimus Prime, or is it more, I don't know, Karen from fucking SpongeBob and you want to be an object head? Like, that's, anything is on the table when you're at this stage. But as you start sort of like whittling things down and like narrowing down a concept, that's when you're going to start kind of going into the other areas of design to really strengthen sort of the idea that you're going for. So that does actually tie into sort of like the other part of the design process for me, which is this is a fun part for me, because like I look at machines in the real world a lot, and I think about, you know, why they look like the way they do, and why usually it's in order to serve the function of, you know, whatever the fuck they're doing. I put the Spot robot in here because this is a very strong example of like, this exists in the real world, right? And this is used regularly in both a private and commercial setting. And you could very easily take these design elements, take the kibble and like shape language, and make a robot out of it. Absolutely. Something similar over here. This is a lot more stylized. This has a lot more going on compared to the Spot robot, but the concept is the same, right? It's a robot with artificial limbs, artificial like balance and gait, and you kind of make it work. I put Spider Robot in here as an example as well, because I have a spider drone. I love spiders. I love them, like the way they move and the way they function. Once again, Transformers makes a comeback because they just have the best fucking spider robot designs. I don't know. They gave me Arachnid and they gave me fucking Tarantula Spark. Like, I can't not. Creator says, this is why I love the robot designs with a variety of designs and concepts. It's endless. It is endless. It's a choose your own adventure, but it's you make a robot. For real.
Like, it could be anything from, like, a robot that's sentient that, like, builds himself back up during an apocalypse. It could be a science assistant. It could be a fucking warfighter. Like,
yes!
who knows?
Yes, the storytelling is built into the design, which is one of the reasons why I love robots and like, mechanical design so much.
Robots are a reflection of the world that they're in, because they're a direct creation, typically, of the world that they exist in.
Yes!
So it's...
It is, he put it perfectly. Could have said it better myself. Anyway, heading back to the task at hand, the robots at hand. Spot and Spider Robot are probably the most, like, sort of... I think it's starting out, if you're making a robot design, I think these two are a great place to start, just because, like, there's very, obvious differentiation between, like, the limb structure and, like, the way they walk, the way they move and stuff. But as you start getting more comfortable fucking around with your robots, if you feel comfortable leaving the bipedal realm, you can start maybe giving your robots more than 2 legs. Or like in a configuration that isn't like a spider or anything else. Like, this one is really fucking cool. I thought this was a really great example of like a robot design that's just, it's so unique in not only just color scheme, concept, but like just overall vibe. I feel like this robot could probably step on me. Praying mantis robot would be so cool. Agree! See, there we go. You're already at the precipice of a new robot design. Just
go for it.
Just go for it, yeah. Praying mantises exist, right? You just look at a bunch of praying mantises and hope and pray. But it will work out. I think that when there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a will for more robots. I won't lie.
Give us more.
We more robots. More. That's the reason why a good portion of why I even like wanted to plan this stream was, one, Gizmo asked very kindly, and I'm like, yes. But also, number 2, more robot sonas. More robot designs in general. Go silly, go crazy with it. It can be very daunting at first, but I hope that this stream will allow y'all to feel a little more prepared whenever you feel up for the challenge. Here's another really great example. A very avian styled robot. I actually have one in my work in progress for R0 that is sort of like in this vein as well. I love the legs, the talons. It's so angular and so shaped. Hoping, praying,
they're so
mantis.
shaped.
So very its own, very unique. This one, the Suncatcher here, I love the sort of the level of planning involved in this design. I think it's very inspired by this sort of the Horizon Zero Dawn type beat of robot design, where it's very like ecological and like this sort of goes back to the whole genre and style section of the stream, where it's like, what's the theming of your robot? It'll lend itself into the design. The fucking solar panel ass antlers, that's so genius. Like, trust me, y'all. The truly your options are limitless. But that can also be a daunting task in itself. But that's where narrowing it down to one concept, one genre, one story you want to tell with the machine that you're building is kind of the way to go. At least it helps me keep everything in track and organized in my brain. But yeah, the machines in Horizon Zero Dawn are also a great example of iterative design in machine structure and stuff, because these machines were specifically designed and tasked to like do things like, till the land and like help essentially terraform the planet. Of course, there's also going to be just like different vibes. I love me a robot furry anytime, because like, fuck it, why not be a robot dragon? I think from there I will go to personality and expression. Because, once you've figured out sort of like the type of robot, the type, shape, color, yada, how is this machine still in the throes of figuring out its sentience? Is this just pure drone? That this is where you can start really thinking about the interpersonal life of your machine, if they have one. For me, I love writing me a robot coming of age. So, I brought up a couple of examples of like, different ways to, modes of expression that you can apply to your robot, if it applies. I ain't put me there because I'm nothing. I'm a cartoon. I'm a cartoon robot. I'm nothing but expressive. And it's all in the cartoon hands. I got the expressive eyes, which is with robot designs for me. I love shit like this, where if you've got a screen or a visor, you can plaster anything you want on it. Okay. So having different swatches of expression that you could just like file through at any given moment, like fuck it. I love that range. It's there, but it only shows up in specific moments, right? And if you're doing a lot of character storytelling, this is an incredible way to sort of like emphasize a moment or a character scene. And I'm Protogen also in here. I mean, Protogen are probably the most popular like expressive mode of robot visor. Also, they're furries, so like there's a lot of references. It really is just a personal preference thing, right? Like if you feel like a design is where it's got to be and it serves the narrative and like personal preferences that you have set forth, and yeah, no problem at all. Usually in that case, if I know that a robot is static or has like, I think like the surgence of like, you know, getting and having like robot mask features lends itself to like, okay, now I can really like riz up my character and like put them in really cool clothes and shit. Circuit and like a lot of the robot cosplayers I see online are a great example of this. You have the mask, which already sells the sort of like, you know, I'm me machine. You cannot see a face. That is like the baseline thing for a robot cosplay is like no face. But the rest is just totally up to your discretion. Like, I love this outfit in particular because he just looks like he came straight out of the 70s. like a 70s ass robot. This is actually a robot design that Toast did recently. This is something he recently
I fuck
finished.
with that design so heavily.
It's so fucking good! Like, we've got the maskless design, right? And the head is very, very, very well rendered, very mechanical feeling. The way that the visor is designed implies that maybe there are other expressions, but of course, if Toast doesn't want to do it or it isn't within this character's range, it doesn't have to happen, right? But you can already kind of tell the vibe of this robot character just based off of his pose and his outfit. That is another mode of expression worth considering if you're designing a robot and you don't want to draw kibble. Fuck it, put some clothes on him. Just like he said earlier. Because it works. It is strong. A fashion design lends itself to character design. The two are one and the same. I've also brought up this character's name, but this is one of Favorite's robot characters, and this is probably...
oh god, yeah.
Is it Cheats?
So gender, but I forget the name.
I forget. I don't know, but he's great. And specifically, I think I remember his like sort of like small backstory of like, you know, he's kind of pretending to be human, but like he's like kind of an anxious little guy, so he's kind of horrible at it. He's kind of like low-key outing himself, and I'm like, buddy, he's looking good doing it. Man can dress. He's got the big ass coat. I'm a sucker for a robot in a big ass coat because yeah, you can cut. There's a lot of range of motion in baggier clothes. I feel like for a machine, when you hit towards the legs and the feetsies, unless you're not physical, a very bipedal android-like design, so they can very well put some clothes on. But that's also something to keep in mind when designing your character. We are almost at the end of this portion of the stream where I just talk for fucking an hour. But yeah, we are now going to talk about adding complexity. You know, we've got all of these elements. We've figured out all of these little bits. Like, oh, maybe I want them to have different kinds of limbs. Or maybe if I want them to wear pants and shoes, then I'll go here. But then from there, if we're talking a machine that is more on the end of like something like a spot or an arachnid or something, you will be thinking more about kibble. Especially for like dino designs too. This applies for like Terracons and Predacons and stuff like that. You will be thinking about how to add kibble in an organic design. And I do have a couple of references here. The PureRef is on my Discord. I'm trying to find a way to export the whole thing. It's probably going to be a giant canvas. I'm sorry in advance, but that's the only way this program works. I have a couple of great references of just like adding small details to make things feel more complicated without necessarily going all the way. Like the way I design robots, I'll be going into a couple of examples of like adopts and stuff that I've sold or some of the Artisan designs. But this one's great. But yes, going back to complexity, yes, say for example you wanted to draw your cowboy bot without shit on. Some ideas on ways to add detail is I love to look at the internals of custom built computers and shit. This is all kind of the functions and components of what a machine would actually need. Cooling, wiring for data cables and stuff like that. General, where are things being cased? What sits out exposed, what doesn't? Things like that. Look, adding complexity, that counts too. You want to give your robot fake robot facial hair, go for it. I mean, Transformers got you covered there too. You know, creating a unique robot design is designing a silhouette that feels its own, or like feels like something you can recreate quickly, but also is like, this is my Blurbo, and they have these shapes. But I do, in this PureRef, I have a lot of examples of, like, adding detail to, like, simplified hands, for example. Say if you want your mecha hands to feel a little more like mecha hands, there are ways. And this is the point where it's like, you sort of, like, gotta start delving your little toes into mechanical design. And some people aren't ready for that, but if you are, looking at mechanical joints and things like that, it is a great way to, like, sort of add smaller levels of complexity without going, like, super overboard, like with the Bayformers. And we're almost there. I'm going to start drawing some examples. When we all tie it together, okay, I will use some of my robots as an example. I finally have a lineup of most of my robots in R0, and I've got a little bit of everything, y'all. I got robots with clothes. He is also in there. He shakes hands. Yes, I've got a little bit of everything. I've got robots in clothes, like Roswell. He's got a hat on. Or you can be completely fucking naked, like Dima and Marquise, and it totally works. It's fine. Robots with claws are always a yes. I mean, this hand, you cannot hold this hand. I'm sorry. He's gonna slice it off. And because of his personality, it makes completely sense. Marquise is sort of like a anti-hero / villain in R0, so I want him to be as unapproachable as possible. Unless he wants you to look, right? It's like, looks at you with my dangerous, sexy eyes. That's Marquise in a nutshell. We've got, I think, like, my favorite examples of robots with kind of, like, half clothing is, like, Rewind here on the right next to Keller. She's got a lot of mechanical design going on, but she has little bits of clothes. She does have the half worn on coat. She won't put it on all the way. Don't ask her to. She'll yell at you. And, like, the half pants and the shoes. Yes, Skip with his all clothes. He's an anxious guy. Right? Him and Favorn's character kind of have that in common, I think, with the coat and, like, the multi-layering, right? It shows, like, a level of, like, just interpersonal insecurity, probably. But he gets better. And then I also have, like, the sort of mechanical end of design, Ares and the other two on the left being a good example. Because Nightshade and Leo are, like, meant to be on the road. Like, they function outside for the most part. Leo has a coat, but, like, generally you'll see him without it just because he works a lot. Also, that hat probably comes off, too. I can show you guys his full design later. I mean, I created all the kibble just to cover it up with the coat. But because I'm dedicated to the craft and I'm dedicated to the character, I will have both. I will do both. And that's also why I offer character designs as a commission when I have commissions open, you know what I mean? Because I love this kind of shit. This shit is my bread and butter. Key this is one of my favorite drawings of Key, I think. It still holds up. I really, really like it. Well,
very nice.
The one canonically Roswell having to tailor this outfit onto you despite you being like 14 feet tall is like so funny still to me. It's so good. But yeah, I love robots, so I have a little bit of everything. Not shown the giant fucking Gundam mecha that I have also designed, but it doesn't fit on this fucking page. It's too damn big. So I got a breadth of range. I will also show you some of the, I did some edits for the person who bought this. We've added extra arms, right? My favorite trope with robot designs when I make them is, you're a robot, you can have extra arms, it's a treat. I believe Bridge was like, yeah, extra arms, please. And also laser legs. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I can do that. No problem. As you can tell as well, my biggest TUI trope is everything has to be shiny and lasers or gold. It's either you're that or you're Filipino. I did want to bring up this adopted. I really like the cables here. This is my foray into, I'm just going to shove cables onto the robot. And it worked! But yes, I will now that I've ran through my gauntlet, as I said before, you can find this PureRef up on my server. But yes, I hope that little lecture helped. Lady Royale says, my only issue in drawing bots, I put so much detail and pay for it dearly later. I mean, the detailing part is like sort of the part as an artist where you just kind of go silly with it and it's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna have fun with it. And then like, it's your future self that's gonna hate you later. That's why I intentionally draw and design my OCs with just an amount of complexity that if I didn't draw it in and I just like storyboard or shorthanded them, I know what the character is. I know who they are. I know where things go, but I don't have to put the detail in. And that's where my like happy medium lies.
I think for me anyway, when I'm adding detail, I can add as much detail as I want, but then I go, okay, what actually makes this design look better? And then start reducing the detail if I can.
Yeah, I like that. The opposite of subdivision. You know, you're taking away, which is possible in the design stage of art.
Another thing I've learned with the robot designs is if you have a very complex robot design, the simpler parts stand out more, and if you have a very simple robot design, the complex parts stand out more, typically.
Yes.
So that's something else to keep in mind when designing.
I think I will actually go through a small little gauntlet of like robots I'm currently designing and kind of like give the stream a couple of notes of like things that I want to change, improve, or adjust or add. Right now I'm working on Keller, and he shapeshifts, god damn it. So like I'm deliberately keeping him simple because he has so many other little fucking bits to him. Curious, do you have a Discord server? Yes. Okay, it's not uploaded the entire scene. The program that I'm using here is called PureRef. I will probably just later on, probably towards the end of the stream, I'll start cutting this up into little like sections and pasting it in my server. But if you have this program, or don't have this program, I do highly recommend it. It is probably the best reference like compiling program I've been able to find. I guess a cheaper or freer alternative would be Melanote, but I would have to shove everything on Melanote. It is very much worth the donation if it does like prioritize you to like offer a donation for PureRef. I think it's highly worth it just because it's free. Okay, yes. Okay, good. It's still free.
It is free, but you could donate to help developers.
Which is very swag and cool because the fact that it's free, you know, hey, that kind of blows my mind. To be able to see everything in one place, or like to be able to very quickly just like shove images from the internet onto like a somewhat themed thing, yeah.
You could just copy and paste it instead of like downloading the image.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
It's so fucking nice, yeah. Yeah, and you can only have so many windows, and then Clip Studio Paint starts to be pissy and slowing down. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. So what I like to do is, like, I'll take a little collage in PureRef, snip it with the snipping tool, and then drag it into Clip Studio Paint. Like, I'll drag that into Clip Studio Paint, as opposed to, like, the entire board or something like that, or individual images. Yeah, this thing's a lifesaver. Especially if you're doing, like, I don't want to say complex character design, but just character designs that have a lot of elements to it. Robots, there's a lot that goes on, but also it's very rewarding in the end when you tie it all together, which I will attempt to do.
Before we move on real fast, I may want to add on, when making robots that are like very android or very human in like body type, nature, or whatever, very human in that aspect, a tip I saw someone give was study lingerie, because the way that lingerie forms around the body can help you like determine lines to put and like seams on your robot characters.
Oh, actually, that's a great point. I think also like those really detailed sort of like hobby artsy fashion dolls as well, like the joints, that the way that the articulation is designed on those joints, and like there's also seam lines as well. Very, very useful for androids. When you draw enough robots, you can enter mecha territory, which I have this year. New canvas. You want to use the symmetry tool? Bring up the ruler tool here on the bottom wherever you have your shit set up. My shit is going to be different. Going to be under here, under create ruler. It's going to be all the way at the bottom. In order to do just a straight line down the middle, I hold shift, I drag, and then boom. And this little thing will show up on your layer sort of like preview here. This shows the ruler. What I like to do to make sure that that ruler applies to everything, put it in its own folder, and then every layer underneath that folder will use the symmetry tool. The symmetry tool is also something you can turn it off and on. So say, for example, you want something asymmetrical, you just turn that bitch off. do a little bit of doodling, and then turn it back on. Because this is also, if I'm trying to really whip out a character design or a robot design really quickly, the symmetry tool helps a lot. And some of my favorite, like, sort of live 2D and just a lot of character artists that I know will just, like, spam this shit just to get ideas out, because they don't want to deal with having to deal with a 3/4 view. Like, if you look at some of the mechas over here, the first two are symmetry tool, and then the one on the right is 3/4 because I'm a little silly like that. I mean, it kind of worked out. It kind of worked out just because I had the first two. Now that I have this symmetry tool locked and loaded, I will go ahead and draw with it. You want this line to be purple when you see the symmetry tool on. If it's green, then it ain't gonna work. I just discovered that now. But as you can see, as you draw, it will do the same drawing on the other side. So say, for example, I wanted to draw a robot. No, it's so nice for...
faces too.
Yes, absolutely. If I'm doing like a portrait, this is very useful because then you don't have to worry about the consistency. All you need to do is draw the first side and then you're fine. Never be ashamed, no.
Never be ashamed of using any tool besides AI Gen.
Yeah. We appreciate our artists here. The things and tools and the techniques that I'm showing you here, this is all for your use and benefit. And for your own art journey, because this shit is it's all iterative, right? We work at it, we get better at it over time, and we sit on it, we mull on it, we drag our life experiences in, and we just kind of cook. I also use the symmetry tool on my iPad as well. Symmetry tool is usually a thing in things like Procreate. I use personally Sketchbook Pro. No, not Sketchbook Pro. Autodesk Sketchbook, the free version. I ain't paying for that shit. I ain't paying for it, and I've been using it for years, and it's given me so much mileage. Autodesk Sketchbook on iPad. And it's also on Android and other places as well. If it's on mobile, it's free, but if you try to get it on desktop, it is $20. And I'm like, huh. Okay, so I'm going to design this robot. Smile. So we're going to do a Y2K object head probably styled thing. I love the aesthetic of like the ocean. Like that bottom right image, a screen, but it's like the ocean TM. That's kind of cool. I kind of fuck with that. And then we'll put in some like Y2K elements with like this sort of embedded glass, but like you've got water in it type beat. I feel guilty. Oh, okay, I'm catching up with my chat. I feel guilty about using symmetry sometimes, but I used to get things down. Never feel bad. Never feel bad. Honestly, I would not be able to get out as many adopts as I have in the past like couple years if I didn't use the symmetry tool. Like it's too useful.
As someone who has been in that headspace before, it's something where have to get out of like the pressure that you put on yourself that feels like it can come from others of like, oh wow, I see all these other artists draw things super quickly and they don't have to use this tool that I'm using. And it's like, we're at such a further point than you are experience-wise that they can probably do things that you can't. So using tools to help you achieve things is not a bad idea. Like, if you're going to start building a house, you can use a hammer and nail, but like just use a fucking nail gun. That's just gonna make your life a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For example, like what I'm doing right here, I just realized that the shit is too big for this canvas. So the fact that I have this symmetry tool on and applied to the folder that I'm using, I can make the whole thing smaller and drag around the ruler at the same time. Oh my god! When I found out I could do this, I've been doing it ever since. What do you mean I could just drag this shit around like it's just, you know, a regular layer element? There's little things. It's the little things, y'all. I remember when I showed people about time lapses or about like the lasso tool or like gradient maps. Yo, trust me, y'all. Use the tools to your advantage. They're for you. We are also, if you're still on the fence about it, we are in an era of AI, right? Like that motherfuckers just fucking type in a couple keywords and then make some goon content. We, on the other hand, have to use the tools at our disposal. So might as well use them, right? If you put the ruler within the folder itself, right here, and just like make sure instead of this like little ruler thing being in the layer, have it in the folder and then have the layer in the folder. Done deal. You can just fucking scale that shit down. Hey, this is why we do the streams, everybody. I'm here to share the information. But yes, back to doodling. I am going to doodle this robot, and I'm going to give myself like maybe 10-15 minutes to do it. But we're already like halfway there. I'm going to use some of the design techniques that I had covered previously. Because I'm Jet Set Radio Pilled, they might have wheel feet. I might give them wheel feet. I'm going to give them wheel feet. Fuck it. and maybe multiple arms, we'll see. I am going for sort of a clear, translucent vibe with this. I am going to put silly little water in the screen. I'm going to imply that maybe the head is just like an actual little tank, and like the actual eye is maybe in the chest or something. It's pseudo eyes. I think like this design I made, one of the recent adopts I sold. One of my favorite sort of design tropes with mechanical designs is the fact that you don't have to necessarily have the core of your robot be the head. The head could be, it could be leading you on, right? The actual like eye of this robot's in the chest. Love shit like that. It goes to show, I think like one example of this that had been like really showed this to me in media as growing up was like iRobot, okay, is a thing, and like the robot didn't die because, oh, I have my brain in my chest, and then everyone was like, oh my god, looking at the movie like, are you fucking serious? But there's just certain things about the movie. I mean,
just his bottom text and then kills her. It's like.
I might make this little poncho that I'm making also see-through, just because, like, I also am the type of designer who's, like, I like translucent bits because you can add a level of colorfulness to the robot without necessarily getting rid of the detail. You can just hide the detail behind colored glass. We love that shit. I give them, like, a little mouse tail. Oh, that'd be kind of cute. And I'll make it the fucking little mouse with the water in it. I don't know. Something about that speaks to me. I was born in 98. Like, I grew up with, like, the early 2000s shit. It's kind of aesthetic. I remember growing up and reading a lot of textbooks with, like, that sort of eco early 2000s vaporwave style on the textbook cover. And I'm like, the fuck is going on here? But I really like it. And what's nice about having sort of this layer here, all of my layer structure being able to apply the same ruler is that I can have multiple layers and then not worry about having to reapply the fucking ruler every time. It's just gonna be there forever until I don't want it there no more. I'll give you an example here. I'll upload this demo for people to look at into my Discord. I think what actually has helped me draw hands is robot hands, because they are so uniform.
Yeah, you can, like,
yeah,
they're like segmented and all that.
Yeah, and getting the scale of them just right just comes with like repetition, and thankfully with robot hands they tend to be pretty uniform that I can like draw a bunch of them, and then eventually over time I'll get that scale right. But yeah, it just comes with practice. I just love giving robots fake paw pads. Yo, that's the gender. I give them like little
Are you still
Ooh, what if I put like little fucking fake water jelly in the legs? Like I got this like weird leg shape going on. I kind of fuck with it. Joints here, and then like I have like the outline of some clothes here, but I'm not gonna worry about it because I'm gonna put down another layer.
Always draw your characters naked before
Real. I mean that, and just like
at least have the basic shape underneath, right?
No, I feel that. Like when I was in the early part of the stream where I was like showing like construction lines and stuff like that, like all of those like having like just like little fucking boxy figure as like a base is so helpful for like Engel's anatomy, quote unquote, right? Because if you cover it all, if you try to do it without setting up what's beneath, sometimes it can like extend the drawing time necessary to get the thing right because you didn't figure it out earlier on in the sketch, you know? And it's like, construction lines, we love them and hate them. Oh, I like this couple. This is cute. Look, I'm just a sucker for muscle, so even my robots get synth muscle. I blame Matsu. Look, we love a beefy robot. I mean, come on. Yeah. Y'all see my shit. Yes, I like this robot already. This is already kind of within the vein of what I'm looking for. I think I'll start coloring it now, smile. We're gonna do this bright teal. I don't know, I'm really liking blues this month. Oh, I kind of want the chest to have, like, fake-ass water in it, too. Oh, I love it. Yeah. What I do if I want more control, I'll take a soft brush and then put it on transparent and then just, like, erase parts that I want to be transparent. Shit is peak. Also, use a lot of reference. Like, this, for example, I'm gonna be kind of, like, yoinking a lot of color and sort of the way this refracts. I can tell this is probably resin. It's not actual water. So I can either make this actual water or maybe there's just like poured resin in this robot for whatever reason. Maybe it's a custom. Oh, no worries, Jester. I believe in you. I think that even despite visual brain limitations, you'll find a technique that works for you, I think. Since this tail is an asymmetrical detail, I do have to turn off the only thing really finicky thing I have to do is like make sure I'm turning on and off this ruler, which if you right click the little icon you have the option to show or hide the ruler. I just hide it when I'm not using it. Do I want to put rubber duckies or fish? I'll probably do fish. Little bright ass fucking little guppies. I think this will be... I do want to sell this as an adopt, so I will like kind of do like a rudimentary sort of planning of this adopt, and then I'll have this over available as hey, you want to see how my ruler works, then I could show you sort of like a very sketchy work in progress version of this folder, and then you can like kind of piece it apart and figure out from there how you want to fit this sort of like tool into your process. I might do like a set though. Like this will be 1 out of like 3 robots I do. Where this one's like the this one's got silly little resin aquariums in it, and then the other one could be like, I don't know, like the fucking a football robot, the damn hunky football robot, but I'll make him orange. That's my plan. I don't know what clothes I would stick on this robot, but I'm just gonna doodle some just to show an example of how that sort of like layer separation works with this solution tool on. If I wanted to do like a clothes layer, if you can also make folders underneath your ruler folder and it will still apply the ruler. Smile. And then I don't know, like a poncho would be kind of cute, but I would make it sort of like a raincoat. Like maybe they work at an aquarium that's like it is by the sea, or maybe it's in like a Southeast Asian country and it just rains all the fucking time. You know, when it just rains all the fucking time. And I'm just remembering the Philippines. Also, I feel like a poncho would like... I like that sort of raincoat theme on a robot. If you think about it, robot don't want to get wet. Robot gotta wear a coat. Robot maybe gets a little hoodie as a treat. I'll buy a hoodie here. That'd be kind of cute. I hope this stream has been informative. I
might do a shoddy edit of the VOD if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go for it.
Reduce all the chatter in between.
Yeah. I would.
So it's more informative.
Yeah, no.
Raider HD says there seemed to be a thing with you in the Philippines.
I'm Filipino, smile. Also, my
Filipino
AI core is in the Philippines. That is canon. That is a canon event. You will hear about the Philippines a lot from me, because a lot of my OC stories, at least like when I do like a little, we're in the HQ, when I start eventually writing my damn OC story, it's in the Philippines, because I've created plot armor around that little island. Like, this place still exists, and robots live here and hang out and have a beach party every once in a while, you know.
Fuck American plot armor, we got Filipino plot armor.
Yeah, pretty much! Can I go to the Filipino robot land and have them upload me into a robot, or is that something, or something so I can be a hot, well-dressed robot? Absolutely. I mean, mind transfer is a thing in my universe. Hey, if you wanted to abandon your flesh body, absolutely. But hey, that's kept me writing it for so long, so each their own, right? A lot of, like, the early missions for R0 are just like, okay, the Earth is fucked up. How do we fix the Earth? World building. Yeah. There we go. But yeah, I think I will fill this out a little bit. I'll send this as a little treat for y'all in the Discord server. If you are in the Discord server, you can have the file to this thing I'm working on, so you can get a little file for fucking designing your own little robots with the symmetry tool. Because a lot of what I kind of went over today can be a lot simplified if you use something like this, where it's just like you only have to really draw it once on one side, and then it kind of just works. Because a lot of like mechanical design is sort of contingent sometimes on consistency of like segments and hard edges and stuff like that. So something like this, a tool like this, really helps you not worry about the 3/4 view. God forbid you draw a really complicated design with the symmetry tool though, and you want to rotate it to 3/4. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you, but it would look really fucking cool. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna fill this out. Let me go ahead and bring up the new trailer here. There we go. Yay, we love the lasso tool. Also, I will show you guys the lasso fill tool. What I've been doing to fill this robot, like your line drawing tool right here. If you scroll down, it's called lasso fill. This thing. Usually underneath your ruler. If you press U and it'll bring up the figure tool. And then the lasso should be there, lasso fill. So it's just like the lasso tool, but wherever you complete a shape, it fills it with whatever color that you're using. I use it to paint. It's so fucking useful. If I'm blocking, for example, and I don't want to use my tablet pen because it hurts my hand, I go ahead and use the lasso fill tool, and it works like a charm. Yeah. I'll do maybe and that's all she wrote in terms of this sort of like simple little robot design. feel free to dissect this folder as you see fit. Let's see, I'll put this in its own folder. This is the base. Alrighty. There's we goes. I'll make this teal. Yeah. But yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed this little tutorial. I think I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for showing up. This is all for you guys. I do love to share whatever little sacred little robot knowledge, because I don't want it to be sacred. I want it to be open source and accessible to all as much as possible. I will go ahead and stick this in that Discord. You can find this file, this one right here.